interesting. Yeah.
Miss Linda.
Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you? Welcome.
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for coming.
Hello, Lenda. How are you? Nice to meet you.
I'm good. How are you? I gotta
Also-
put my glasses on.
Yeah, Lee, we got Ian Harrison, Jean-Pierre Fuchs, and Ryan
Yeah.
Paderaki.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hello.
Pleasure.
Everybody's putting their glasses on. I don't have any.
It's a real thing. I need them.
Yeah. We're waiting for our star, our Miss Olympia.
Yes.
She should be on anytime.
Yes. Oh, good. You got a great cast here.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. Thank you. We were just talking about this upcoming show, the Legion Sports Fest.
Yes.
Yeah, is that new?
No, the Legion Sports Fest. Gosh, I think it's been around for at least maybe 5 years.
Has it been that long? Okay, because we were just thinking like, man, we don't. It's definitely getting bigger.
Yeah, I was part of it. Not, of course, this year, but for 2 consecutive years. So, and then I know that it existed the year prior. So we're now in our 4th year.
Oh, okay.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that an amateur show and a professional show? Just a professional show?
It's combo. It's a professional show. I think he has bikini.
Bikini, bodybuilding, classic, and men's physique. I think there's
Yeah.
there's no 212, or I don't think there's a female bodybuilding either, is there?
No, I think there's women's physique, figure. There's at least 4 divisions.
Mhm.
So I had to do the all of the bios for the pros for the Olympia, men, women, all 200, and there weren't 255, but originally the list was 255,
Mhm.
and a lot of them turned pro. You know, not turned pro, but they made it to the Olympia because they won the Legion
Gotcha.
Sports Fest.
Ah.
Okay. Andrea, can you hear us?
I can.
Hi.
Hi,
How
how's
are you?
everyone?
Good.
Good, good.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, 2 times.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
still sinking in.
Yeah. Now you have what? You have 6 more to go.
Make it
Make it
9.
8. 7 more.
The sky's the limit.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Wow. More people on than I anticipated.
I know, right?
Yeah, I got a
Ooh.
full crew tonight. This is our normal Thursday show, and I originally invited you, and I said, oh, I bet Linda would come on too. So yeah, that's great. Thank you all for
Yeah.
coming.
Oh, Alex,
Len-
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Lenda, I did some research today. So some amazing stuff I found out, which I should have known, but I didn't. So I found out that Larry Scott, Sergio Oliva, and Lenda Murray have something in common nobody else in our sport achieved. And do you guys know what it is?
You said it's Ronnie Coleman, myself, and who?
No,
Sergio?
Larry Scott, Sergio Oliva, and you.
Oh, that's good, because I don't know if I know that answer.
Yeah,
I
I
have to
definitely
think
don't
for a
know.
while.
I'm stumped.
Except if I'm wrong, but did you not win your first pro show? Was it not the Miss Olympia? And you won?
Correct. That's right.
Ah, yes.
So when I'm reading, I was always thinking of you as the female Lee Haney, but now when I read that, so I mean, he is the female, he's the male Lenda Murray. If you really think
There you
about
go.
That's
We love
Love
it.
it. Thank you.
It's something he couldn't do, in the first Olympia. I never even heard such a thing. I was, this is unbelievable. So not bad.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, Andrea, did you win your first Olympia as well?
I did.
See, there's another one you can add to the list too. There's
Sorry.
4. It's all right.
Send my list here.
There you go. So, you have 2 Michigan natives that both share the same thing in common there as well. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
awesome.
How's Detroit these days?
It's getting cold.
Is it?
It's getting very cold
Yeah.
and rainy.
Yeah.
And rainy.
How's Ron doing? I haven't talked to him in a while.
He's great.
Is
He's
he?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still at Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
there training clients.
Oh, he's gonna be there forever.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
They're
all
gonna
he
have
knows.
they'll have his statue out front when he's gone.
Exactly. A full shrine.
Yeah.
I know. People definitely, they always ask about Ron.
Yes.
Yeah. That chief of police, I see he's running for governor over there in Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
I
too.
like
think
him.
he
He's a
did
good guy.
wonders
Yeah.
for the city. He did wonders for the city. It was sad to see him go because he was definitely a no nonsense cop.
Mm-hmm.
But if he feels called to get into government on a legislative level,
Right.
I think he should do it because he definitely has a level of integrity that I think the city has been longing for when it comes to being represented.
Yeah, I think you do a good job.
Indeed.
Yeah, I like him. So here, I'll pull I think I got your
Linda, you taking care of my car, girl?
Girl, yes, I am. I walked out. I just saw it there 30 minutes ago.
Oh, they could send her home anytime.
There
I
you
told
are.
Jessica, we get snow here, so I can send the car.
Right.
Wow, incredible.
Well, this is one of those moments where the show is over when the girls step on stage.
Yeah.
I agree. It was definitely a show for second place. I mean, this was the only division in the whole entire weekend that I thought was just hands down. It's a show. It's a battle for second after she walked out. So
Thank you, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And definitely, in my opinion, I think you're far improved from last year as well. So
I didn't think I added on that much size until I did the side by side, and it definitely was
way
significantly different.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I got a lot of good feedback from the judges. It was just a matter of, you don't need to add any more size, just continue to work on the details. So that's good to kind of shift gears and be able to kind of really just dial in the details.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are you doing now? Are you done for the year?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll probably look to attend a few shows. I love supporting the NPC and the IFBB, but competing wise, I'm all set for the year.
Yeah.
Did a good off season.
I'm sure.
And I have a question. When you look at your routine or the pictures, where do you going to improve?
I would like to personally sharpen up my hamstrings, sharpen up my lower lats a little bit more. Again, just the details, sharpen up my quads. My legs are always something that I'm going to kind of pay closer attention to because I have very dense muscle in the legs. Those tend to be the last little details that emerge for me. I used to freak out a little bit because I used to ask, my coach, John Simmons, how much longer before I see my legs? How much longer? And he's like, trust me, you just got to know that you're very dense there. So it'll come through, but, you just got to kind of wait and see how I diet you down. So trust the process, just relax. And sure enough, usually about 2 weeks out, this prep was a little different. I saw it a little bit sooner. He told me that, we got some muscle maturity finally that, you'll start to see it a little more readily. So I started to see my legs probably at about 8 weeks out this time. But yeah, just sharpening up those details in particular and building the symmetry. I think that's something that's kind of like my calling card on stage is that, I bring a lot of symmetry to the stage. So yeah, that bringing that waist in tighter, that's always a goal.
Are you kind of more going on a longer break now, kind of like Ronnie used to do? Or is it for you more like after the shows, before the show, and you go right to work?
I've gotten back to work, but I'm not you know, all gas, no brakes. I'm more I have to commit so many days per week to, you know, dialing in the areas that I just mentioned. And then I build in a couple of off days for rest because, you know, my body definitely, I think, because we had a shorter season this year, you know, with the Olympia being December last year, and then they moved it up 2 months. You know, we really didn't have as full of an off season as I think we could have. So I'm going to take advantage this time of, you know, scale it back a little bit, continue to dial in the details, focus on the diet or the eating, you know, because my opposing coach, she eats a certain way all year round, and, you know, she builds in cheat meals. So this is something that's new to me, but I'm going to embrace it. So that way, you know, I can see, you know, the details much sooner, because I want to get ahead of the game, so to speak. So that way, when I start prep, you know, I feel very confident going into, you know, the prep, because I wasn't as confident at the beginning this year because I added that size. You know, I got up to 206 pounds, and it was different. So, you know, being that heavy as a female is like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to get lean enough in time? But now I know, okay, you know, I added a little size, and my body just, you know, needed to acclimate to that.
Was that hard for you to get this big? Do you eat a lot, or is it kind of easy for you?
Oh, I can polish away some good food now. Tell them, Lenda, we from the place where we used to have Ponderosa, and we could eat like.
Oh yeah.
Remember Ponderosa?
Oh, I definitely remember Ponderosa. I'd go to Ponderosa after working out at Powerhouse Gym. We would all go to Ponderosa.
That's right. The buffet is open. So yeah, I mean,
we
I
still have
food away.
We have Ponderosas in Florida still.
Really?
There's actually one. There's one right down the road from where the Olympia was, right there on International Drive.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's still there. Yeah.
Well, I know where we'll visit when we go back to Orlando.
Yeah.
Andrea, how long is your prep typically? How long do you diet for before a show?
Typically we keep it between 14 and 12 weeks, because, you know, anything longer than that, especially when I'm doing 2 shows, usually they're really good about scheduling the Rising Phoenix 2 weeks to 1 month out from the Olympia so far. So I don't want to go into it too soon, because the one thing about the way John structures my diet, once I get into what I like to call phase 3 of the diet, where, you know, the carbs start to get less, the protein options are less, you know, no more egg whites, no more ground beef. I tend to start getting lean really fast. This last prep, actually right after the Rising Phoenix, for the first time ever, I got a refeed. And that was something new. Again, you know, carrying a little more muscle means that when I start to, you know, kick up my metabolic rate, more cardio, I started to drop really, really fast. So he told me we have to pump the brakes a little bit, and he gave me a refeed, and it was a big refeed. I had a huge bucket of popcorn shrimp. I cleaned off a 22-ounce porterhouse.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I had 4 peanut butter cookies, like really big ones. I mean, I put away some good food.
It does sound good.
Does your training change when you go to a prep, or do you just start shedding fat and keep the training the same?
The training definitely gets kicked up a little bit. During the off season, I usually lift moderate to heavy. During prep, I have to titrate it down just like I do my diet. So I move more into the fine tuning details. So, and the leg day gets kicked up. I go from 2 leg days a week to 3. Jeez. So a lot of dialed in detailed movements, leg extensions, walking lunges with no weights. Again, we're not looking to add any significant size to the legs, but we want to make sure that the details emerge very clearly for the stage. A lot of seated leg curls for hamstring, standing leg curls, you know, isolation movements. Those are my go-tos to make sure that, again, it's not about adding the mass. I can add mass, but that's not the goal, because I don't want to throw my symmetry off. I think some girls get kind of caught up into that, you know, they got to be bigger. Well, what about your details? You know, there is a fine line that we walk as bodybuilders where you can get massive, but then you compromise your clarity and your definition. So that definitely changes. Once I get to that 14 to 12 week period, you know, it's no more squatting. John really doesn't like me to squat a whole lot anyway, because he knows that I can add mass very quickly. And, you know, we focus on the details.
Very good.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll wait. You go ahead.
Lenda, I don't even know where to start with you. I was reading so much about you today.
Uh-huh.
So first of all, like me, you had a knee replacement not too long ago.
Oh, yeah.
Two.
Two.
Okay.
I had two at the same time.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Why get it over with? So how did that go?
Oh God, it was great. It was the 17th of February. And so I'm like I'll be at my 8th month. And the recovery was good. I just had to make sure that I slowed down, because you got that, how can I say it? You're an athlete, and so in your head, I wanted to like start walking, and I did. I started walking, like, they get you up walking the very next day. So it's been great, really.
It was more than great. Okay, I worked in a hospital where all we did, because I was a pre-physical therapy major, all we did was work with people who had knee replacements, hip replacements, any kind of orthopedic. That's the unit that I worked. This woman was driving herself around town.
That's right, because you were at the house. You came by.
Yes.
I had the surgery in February.
So I was there I was there at the end of February. Beginning of March. And she was doing so good. I mean, I kept asking her if she needed help, and she was just, it was like she was wearing rockets, y'all. She was just gone.
Yeah. I know I had to make myself slow down, but yeah, it's been great recovery. I'm really happy with it.
It's not that I'm in any way surprised, because mine, of course, when you compare your career with mine didn't go so well.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's great now, totally pain-free, but this thing just didn't bend, so it didn't bend. They sent people to my house, and then they had to put me under again to just bend the knee.
Really?
So, yeah, other than that,
those are tough.
So other than that, now I'm very, very good now. And my doctor was very, very concerned that I'm looking at this new knee as a way to kind of go into heavy lifting again. Mm-hmm. And he kept telling me, I said, I'm telling you, this is made for old men to walk to Costco. So,
yeah.
Although I've been pain-free, I definitely do know now what he talks about, and he said, if you mess this up, to go back in and fix a broken, artificial knee is a big deal. So don't mess it up. So I'd be definitely careful, but I'm very happy I did it. And it's just a little tough, the recovery, but I'm glad it went all well with you.
Yeah, it did.
I was going through your competition career, although I followed it very, very closely back then. I was reading it almost like it is so long ago now. It was quite a while ago. I was quite surprised that how close a few of your titles were.
Oh, you're talking about how close? Yeah, you're talking about the point wise, as far as like, I had some tough competitors. Laura Crevel gave me run for my money.
They were talking about a very controversial decision in '93 against Denny.
Yeah, 93, that was that Laura Crevel?
Dennis Rutkowski.
Oh yeah, Denise. Yeah, Denise Rutkowski. She was amazing, Denise Rutkowski, Laura Crevel, and then, I always say the person that, it was another competitor. It's a year that that's the year I placed second. The competitor that placed third, she was in amazing shape. I think I also got a little gift there. I'm not ashamed to, all of my Olympias.
Look at that.
I love every single Olympia, and that was my return. So I'm most proud of when I returned to the Olympia stage after being retired for 5 years. You guys, so yeah.
Wow. It is quite incredible, yeah.
Look at those delts.
Wow. Yeah.
That's Look at these abs.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. My delts would get out of control. My delts and my back. So it's when Andrea talks about detail and just, it's a sport, it's an art, and you have to try to keep everything in balance. And we all have body parts that will take over. My shoulders and my back, definitely.
Yeah.
When you came back in 2002, I believe, did you train all those years and just had to kind of go back to into competition shape, or did you have to kind of start almost from scratch like an Arnold did in 1980 and do a lot in a short time?
Yeah, great question. For me, I continued to train. During my first reign as Miss Olympia, you know, women bodybuilders, we've always had challenges and all of the controversy and whether muscle is attractive or not. And so I made my mind up because I watched other female athletes that retired from competition and they would just let themselves go. They would choose to try to be like, not embrace their muscularity, and then they would try to go the opposite direction and be really small and not carry that muscle. And I made the decision that I love looking like a female bodybuilder, and I'm going to continue to do my best to represent. And plus, I just love to train heavy, but not heavy, but heavy. So that was a goal upon retirement that first time, to make sure I stayed consistent.
How did you feel back then about things like what I read today for the very first time, a 20% rule? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Since
you were so feminine, I find it quite amazing that they came up during your reign.
Yeah, well, you know what? Gosh, I mean, I guess in a sense, I'm not really surprised. I think, and that's the thing that I'm so glad that Andrea and I have a connection, and some of the former Miss Olympias that we had the opportunity to talk, because I think throughout our history, from Rachel McLeish all the way up to Andrea, we deal with, we're too much, you need to lose weight, you're too big, you're too ripped, you can't have ripped glutes. It's just a constant, I guess, bombardment. Sometimes the noise is loud and sometimes not so loud. And it existed throughout my reign. And I think that, you know, we'll probably always deal with that. So
I remember when I saw you the first time, with my own eyes. It was not on stage. It was at the banquet of the 97 Olympia, the Queen Mary ship.
Oh, yeah.
And I expected you to be a lot bigger, you know.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how feminine you looked in that dress, you know, as I kept talking about it for years, you know, whenever somebody told me about how, you know, afraid they are kind of to build muscle as a woman, I said, you should in a dress, you know.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing I've ever seen, you know, as I expected when you look at your shoulders on stage, you know, and it's all lit up and we're in the competition shape. It's really was something else, you know. Congratulations again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know, I think that is, I would get that from people. They always thought I was taller. I'm only 5'5". They thought that, you know, when I was on stage that I weighed, I don't know. I weighed my first Olympia 145, and I think my last Miss Olympia, I probably weighed no more than 155 pounds. So I didn't really gain. I gained muscle, lost body fat. My body, you know, I got better as far as quality muscle that I put on, but losing the body fat, more detail.
One more thing to ask you, I couldn't believe when I came across that today. So obviously I know you were on TV shows and stuff, but there is something you kind of got me off guard a little bit, and I wanted to talk about it. This is for Lenda. Jerry Springer show?
Oh, the Jerry Springer, yeah, right.
Really?
Yes, however, it was Jerry Springer when he was the Phil Donahue.
Okay.
At the time, Jerry Springer was—
That was before he was crazy.
Yeah, that was before he was crazy. I would never
before he got
go
out
on
of
the
control.
Right. He was trying to be Phil Donahue in an Oprah Winfrey, but that whole like model for talk shows changed, and pretty much all the talk shows went in the direction of a Jerry Springer. So yeah, that was, I know, I always think about that. I'm like, I hope people don't think I was on there.
Nobody was fighting over you on stage, huh?
No baby, no DNA, no.
No, you are not the father or anything like that.
Correct.
Exactly. You didn't catch the boyfriend, you know,
Right.
doing, you know, like all
Right.
kinds of crazy, wild stuff.
Yeah. I think I took that off my resume because it's really tough to explain it, because that's all people know Jerry Springer for.
Right. Yeah. So I got a couple before you guys came on, I posted, and then I asked for if anybody had any questions for you. So I got several, but I'm just gonna, let me see. I got a fun question and I got a serious question. So the fun question is for Andrea. What was the first thing you ate after you were done competing?
Coconut shrimp.
Coconut shrimp.
Coconut shrimp. And I had a lot, and firecracker shrimp. There was a lot of it.
All right.
I've gotten smarter. So right after a show, I used to sit down and try to just stuff myself. When we go to restaurants now, I order off the appetizer menu because I know now that there's no way I can eat nearly as much food as my mind thinks that I can. And we try to make sure that I avoid the salt. So since I restrict sodium a lot during my prep and leading into the show, restricting the water, I can get a hold of some salty things and be very uncomfortable for a long time if I eat salt. So I try to minimize the salt or adding extra salt, because I'm sure that they use some salt to season the food. But yeah, I just order off the appetizer menu, usually proteins, and I'm good to go.
Okay, cool. All right, well, the next one is a big topic in bodybuilding right now, and I figured this question was going to come up. What do you think about all the deaths in bodybuilding, the main cause, and how it should be stopped? And now that and we talk about it almost every show, and it's nice to have two female competitors on now that maybe can give their insight on it.
Yeah. You want me to go first? Or you
I'm gonna let you chime in first, Linda. Yeah.
Okay. You know, I had that thought, I know at the Olympia when we lost George Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess here's my thing. The one thing I can say, I know this is, it's challenging to say, because when someone dies, it's tough. But I know George, he loved the sport, and he absolutely, he was doing what he loved. And I think when we look at a lot of professional athletes,
did she free?
We lost Linda.
I can still hear everyone else.
Yeah. We just lost her.
Oh, yeah.
She may come back. Well, I can kind of pick up. I definitely knew George to be 100% committed. I was a huge fan of George's. And, you know, there was a lot of speculation going around, a lot of swirling about, you know, could it have been diuretics? And honestly, my opinion, no, I really don't believe it was. I've also had the opportunity to talk to George's coach, Justin. Absolutely amazing coach. You know, he coaches his wife, who's also pro. From what I've heard, there could be some congenital things, you know, and those are things that, what could you really do? If it was in the cards, there was really not much you could do, but everybody knew that George had a heart for the sport and he was always going to give 100%. So I can only imagine that he went, you know, to bed that day or that night or laid down to rest, thinking that he was ready to give it his all. So, you know, I tried to keep that in mind. I said a lot of prayers for his mother, because I know he was really close with his mother, but I do also still believe that there are some coaches out there who take on so much business and they don't give enough attention to the athletes And some of them don't care whether it's an Olympian athlete, a pro athlete, an amateur. They just get so bogged down with volume that the quality of their attention to the detail begins to suffer. So to that, I say, you know, when you do the right thing, the money will come. I tell that to my clients a lot. You know, I would rather have someone's full commitment, knowing that we're going to be on the same page. I'm going to make them a priority. And you know, yes, the money, we need to make money, but we need to be wise about how we're handling people and their health. So, I mean, that part we can't ignore. We just can't ignore that part. So, you know, I've seen that a couple of coaches that have decided to take a step back, step down, you know, not take on as many clients, which I think is smart. But I do think we still need to have a lot of discussion about, you know, what some coaches are doing that it's not good protocol. It's just not good protocol to really say, you know, we're going to dry you out really hard, especially if the person has certain other issues going on with them, you know, and that's just the way it is. One of my fellow female bodybuilders said, you know, she didn't really want to take diuretics because she has a family history of kidney issues. You know, if her coach knows about that, you know, he or she has the obligation to say, you know what, okay, you know, well, you know, this is what I would like to do, but since you have this is what I would like to maybe move forward and do. Just be more open with your clients, and the same thing for the athletes. Yes, we want to win. I mean, nobody is doing this because it's community service. We do it because we love it, and ultimately we want to win. But, you know, sometimes you maybe want to take a step back and say, hey, you know what's going to be the recipe for me to be successful and still walk away, you know, hopefully with a win, but with my health intact. You know, you don't want to be that person who has health issues long down the road.
Yeah. Are you in favor for diuretic testing?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just think that, again, we would have to have more discussion about it because, you know, when you start getting into testing, then now you're talking about, you know, there are certain things that just won't be a part of the equation, and that being taken away, there's a different look that's going to be judged on stage, right? So now we start to get into talking about criteria for what's that going to look like, you know? Are we going to test that out with just a handful of shows? Are we going to start saying, hey, you know, for the athletes who want to participate in this, we're going to run it for the first year, or, you know, for 2 years, and we're going to see, you know, evaluate it. How is it going? But I mean, again, there's a lot to talk about. I'm never going to say, you know, I'd be opposed to anything, because I think that's how you can kind of get stuck in a rut. I mean, look at how the organization has evolved, right? Like women's bodybuilding went away from the Olympia, came back. Now we got so many more divisions, even from when I started as a figure competitor. You have to be open to growing, but, you know, we also just need to be more comfortable about being open and being honest in dialogue.
When the diuretic tests, you know, in the 90s, we had diuretic tests, started in 96 at the Arnold's Classic, and then at the Olympia, I think it was 3 years or 4 years in a row. And I remember what an official told me about the first diuretic tests at the Arnold's Classic. Yeah, a few guys had problems. I was one of them, you know, to dry out like I like to. But he said what totally changed the atmosphere backstage. You know, they don't walk around like zombies anymore. They're laughing, they're talking. And at the Olympia 96, there were again some trouble with some guys when it came to shape. 97 still, and 98, everybody figured it out to be just as dry without diuretics.
Because it's possible. I mean, depending on what other things the athlete and the coach may be willing to do, right? This is where I get to talking to a lot of the athletes that I've worked with. I've definitely taken athletes and they've won, and they've not used any diuretics, over the counter or prescription. So there's a way to do it. You just, as a coach, need to look at your timeline. And you need to make sure that you're on top of everything that goes inside of that athlete's mouth, right? Making sure that they're aware. That means we're checking the backs of, you know, condiments. We're checking the backs of seasonings, making sure that there's no sodium, because sodium is the #1 culprit, right? It's water follows salt. At least that's what I learned when I was in college, right? So, I mean, you know, there are certain things that, and, you know, maybe you take the time to start titrating that water down. Instead of 3 days, you know, or 2 days, maybe it's a little bit longer. Maybe you take your time and you really evaluate the athlete on a day-by-day basis to see how much water we need to restrict. But it's totally possible.
Yep, I agree. And I think, like you say, the system, the diet, the system of the last week, I think it will become a lot more important than the diuretics. There's no more kind of fast fix at the morning of the show. You better be ready, So I think in that sense, I would be totally okay, although I'm not competing anymore, if they started diuretic testing again.
Yeah. But again, that's where, we would have to have more dialogue, because the fans expect a certain look. I heard that a lot during this particular Olympia about certain athletes not being conditioned, right? I mean, I can't say that the athletes weren't conditioned, but when you hold water, you don't look as conditioned, right? So there's a fine line there. Like if somebody needs to dry out a little bit more, yeah, you're not going to see that clarity and that definition in the muscle. That's just the way it is, right? You can't carb load and still have, a lot of water or excess water and expect to get on stage and have, this amazing clarity. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but I think at the man this year, would they had diuretic testing, I think they would have looked better. I think they're all chasing Rami, they're all chasing big size. This is sometimes there's too much body fat, so they just can't dry out like you, for example. I mean, well, we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised if diuretic tests coming back rather sooner than later.
Yeah, I wouldn't let it stop me from competing. When I started my career path to pro, I started off with no diuretics. So, and, I came in second at that show. And, my coach and I, that's when we started building the formula, right? That's another thing, people got to stop jumping from coach to coach and, really give that coach a chance to really figure out your body, because it's a learning process. There are some things that I've learned along, and your body changes. Oh, my goodness. I mean, your body definitely starts to change, and then you start to come up with a perfect recipe the more you get on stage for what works best for your body. So for the athletes who are truly committed and the coaches who are truly committed, of course, we can make it work. If that was the case and they wanted to do diuretic testing, let's say for the next Olympia, I wouldn't let it stop me at all. Not one.
Yeah.
Lenda, back in your days, did you have a coach you worked very close with together, or did you kind of figure mostly out this stuff by yourself?
Most of my Miss Olympias, I figured it out myself. Now, when I returned to the Olympia stage, I used Chad Nichols to help me because I just didn't have the knowledge as far as what I needed to do that last week. But what I do know is that it was really up to me. Like, I know my body, and I would always make sure my focus was on my nutrition and making sure that I started my diet, well out from the Olympia. I gave myself enough time. It wasn't like I was trying to fix something that was broken. I was very much connected to my body. I was the one that ran the show, So sometimes when I hear about athletes, like Andrea said, where they're changing coaches and going back and forth between people and all over the place, listening to everyone. For me, at the end of the day, you have to make that decision, and I can say that when I worked with Chad, there was nothing crazy that he asked me to do. I did my homework. I gave him something to work with, and it wasn't anything that we had to do that was crazy. It just, so I don't know. It's challenging when I hear athletes that they think that way. Like they're willing to do anything and everything, changing coaches, listening to everybody. It's like, it's not that complicated, but some of us, they do make it complicated.
Yeah, and sometimes athletes do need to change coaches. I gave Hella some very good kudos for evaluating how she felt like she was progressing. Sometimes if you feel like you're either not being heard as the athlete, whether it's some concerns or you got questions, or if you feel like your physique's not changing, but you're doing everything that's being asked of you, okay, is a rare case in which, you make a call. And, Shelby's worked with a lot of different competitors where they're still with him. But again, you have to know yourself as an athlete. Ellie's a seasoned athlete. So, she knows her physique. From what I know, she worked with Shelby from 2019 up until this year. So yeah, I mean, she knows that, or she knew that it was time for her to make a change. But, I would give athletes, the advice, if you feel like you're talking to your coach and you're not being heard, if you feel like you're not being given enough information to be able to research. So that's one thing me and my coach started out with from day one. Hey, I want you to research X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to sit down within, 2 weeks time, and we're going to sit down and have a talk about it. And let's have some open dialogue about what your questions are, what your concerns are, and then we can talk about moving forward. Those are the things that are the recipe for, a good team coming together and being successful on stage.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I did not know that you worked with Chad. When I used to go to Joe's office, he used to go through my pictures with Monique, like he made a magnifying glass, and like, JP, 3 weeks before the show, you're the best. But at the show, you just call this guy Chad Nichols. And I used to go, I don't speak English, and I use every excuse in the book, and that's one of my biggest regrets. Absolutely, that I would not be the coach who puts my training together during the year, or I just somebody there at the end and kind of guides you through that process. I regret that.
Yes, absolutely. And I lost to Kim on my 7th attempt at winning a 7th title, and I lost to her on the 8th. And when I took that 5 years off, I talked with a good friend, Bill Dobbins, and he said, "Why don't you call Chad? Call the girl. I got Kim Shizevsky's blessings before I actually talked to Chad, and so that's I went to the source, the person that beat me, and again, it wasn't some kind of magic that he worked. It wasn't anything drastic that he did. So,
how long has Chad been coaching? He must have been coaching for a while.
Oh man, he's a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
I would say definitely because 1995, I know Kim was competing in 95, and I believe he was coaching a little bit prior to that.
Yeah. So, I know he was a police officer too before he started that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a police officer.
Yeah, he was a police officer. Yeah.
That means he's no nonsense.
That's right.
Yeah. I know Sean Ray had asked me, he tried to make he made a comment about Chad and some of, we have some of the coaches that have had some athletes that didn't fare well or passed away. But for me, it's clear that Chad was just a straight shooter. It was nothing, no trickery, no, you come correct, you give him something to work with. It was no games that he played or, magic.
Yeah.
Now, did you go to Chad during your off season to begin maybe figuring out some different things with your nutrition, or did you go to him like right at the beginning of prep?
You know what? I really, he and I had in the off season, no, not really. I think the way, to me, Chad operates, and this is back then, because there's this new phenomenon with trainers. Like, it wasn't the same as it is now, but he was just, he worked with individuals that didn't need someone to hold their hand all the time. That's the way I think Chad still operates. If he works, he knows what he's working with. And at the time, I didn't really need any help with my training. I did need that kind of help. I did seek out someone to help me with training when I lost the Olympia, because what happened, I was too busy trying to be Miss Olympia and being this role model. And I kind of got lost up into the marketing and the promotions and representing, and lost in that, I have to look like a woman and be feminine. And I fell into that. And so that's how Kim came in, kicked my butt. There were many other women there. They were training hard. They weren't worrying about trying to look cute and all of that stuff, you know, and they came in.
And that is a very
lost.
real pressure, guys. That is a very real pressure.
And that was the question. That was the question that I want to ask you, Andrea, because I was thinking to myself, because we had that conversation. So how did it feel really defending the title? How was that different from, because I know my second Miss Olympia was the hardest for me.
Yeah. I mean, this was the hardest prep to date. Because I had to be in so many different places, and I had to figure out traveling, being on, you know, the first phase of prep diet, packing as much, you know, food as I could, making several trips to the grocery store, because, you know, we did have the luxury of many of the hotels that we've stayed in to have refrigerators. And it doesn't bother me eating, like, you know, cold food, lukewarm food. None of that bothers me, as long as it's the right food, right? And making sure that, you know, after we get done either working the booth or, you know, got done with guest posing, or I had to get to the gym. I had to still do my thing and make sure that I stayed on top of it. So there was a lot of pressure there to make sure that I didn't leave any, you know, like crack to let somebody come in and take that title. But I still had to also be worthy, I think, of carrying the position, right? I needed to still have a lot of fan engagement. I needed to find a way to be energetic when I wasn't feeling energetic. And there were days where I remember, even at the Tampa Pro, we got done working the booth, and I gathered the girls. I'm like, okay, we all in prep. Who going to the gym?
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock.
What about psychologically? I mean, you know, because I think when you're defending that title, and now all of a sudden everybody's after you, and you got to deal with a lot of the noise and people talking smack.
Oh
yeah. Then it's like, okay, do I need to be big, little, what, you know, whatever. That was really challenging.
Very challenging, especially a lot of the, you know, because there was a lot of smack talking. Not so much from the girls that I've competed against recently, but, you know, people from Russia, people from, you know, it was just like, really?
Right.
So, you know,
because everybody loves you when you win. Everybody loves you. Oh, you're perfect. And then
and then it was like,
they start picking you apart.
And you know, some of the girls who are seasoned female bodybuilders, I've heard, you know, word got back, oh yeah, I'm coming for her, I'm gonna beat her. And it's like, okay, well, I had a decision to make, you know, tired or not, you know, I wanted to do certain things to make sure that I got to a point where I checked myself into a hotel room just to zone out for 4 days and get into my zone. It was worth the investment. I just needed to get away from, because I know myself. So I play a mind game with myself a little bit. And this is one of my joys of kind of being maybe educated when it comes to what I've done in college. The exercise science psychology piece, I know for a fact this is one of my strengths. I knew that there were too many distractions once I was done with my travel. I said, okay, from this point, and you and I talked about it, once you hit that number of days out, it's like you got to be full on red zone focused. So I had to remove myself from everything that was comfortable and to make myself uncomfortable so that I could be sure that I was on target to be number one.
Nice.
So you see yourself doing this for many, many more years, or is there no concrete plan, just going from year to year and see what happens?
A little bit of both. I like to say that, you know, I'm after making a record of my own. So, you know, as long as I feel like I stay in a good place physically and mentally with it, I'm going to keep going.
Right. What do you think of the new format, the new skit thing they did with the Olympia this year, where they did the raise the curtain and you guys were all in the gym and stuff like that?
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. I rallied the girls. I said, hey, look, wait, I want everybody to make sure that you are all smiles and all shines, because number one, Friday night was not sold out. Okay. Friday night was not sold out. That was the night we were on stage, but we got an opportunity to be back on stage on Saturday where we knew it was sold out. So I'm like, I want everybody to be on. I mean, you know, stay sharp. Don't get crazy. We get a chance to get back on stage, and we want to make sure we are seen in good fashion. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of the girls were definitely rallying with me. It was just an honor to be back on that stage. You know, we got to have fun And we got to just tell them, hey, look, yep, we're big, we're here. This is female bodybuilding, and we back.
Yeah.
We are back. So it was great. I thought it was awesome.
So do you think it's going back to Vegas? And you're a two-time Orlando winner.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it to go to Vegas. So yeah, it's been confirmed.
Yeah.
We're going back to Vegas.
Okay.
It's in December. Do you remember the exact dates, Linda?
I think it's like the week before Christmas, the 18th.
Okay, which is great. I get to have another birthday celebration.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely going back to Vegas. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So last year's Olympia was on December 18th, on
That's
Phil
right.
Heath and my birthday. So
Mhm.
I think it'll be a couple of days earlier because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
maybe like the
Friday
11th or something. I'm not sure, but I don't feel like it's the 18th or
But maybe the
that
week.
same week. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
A new venue.
Planet Hollywood
something
again?
new.
I think, Planet Hollywood is two venues. One is something Zappos. They'll have the
Zappos
expo in
Theater.
one place.
The Zappos Theater inside of the Planet Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And I think that it'll go back to the normal time, but for some reason with COVID, I know Vegas, that was the whole reason that they made the switch. So
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dan Solomon, he mentioned something about there could be a toggling back and forth between 1 year Orlando, 1 year Vegas, but they're still sorting through the details. I think as long as we have it, I'm gonna be all smiles.
that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lenda, when you were competing, was it not all over the world?
Yeah, we moved. The first Olympia was in New York. My second one was in Los Angeles. The third in Chicago.
Oh, it wasn't United.
So we moved around throughout the United States. Now the men, you guys, because I remember I guest posed and it was in Finland, Helsinki one year. So you guys would move around. But
So I have a question to Andrea. Since Lenda just mentioned guest posing, that's something we did a lot back then. And it most disappeared. Does Andrea still guest pose, or is still invited to guest pose?
Oh yeah, I guest posed at Linda's show in Norfolk, which was absolutely amazing. That was so much fun. And then I guest posed for two local promoters here in Michigan, John Simmons and then Mike Rugnick. So those were, and Derek Lunsford and I got a chance to pose together at the second show. It was amazing. I think it's so much fun, and I think that the more we can deliver really good stage presence, the more we will be asked to guest pose.
absolutely. Yeah. I think weren't you scheduled to guest post for Dennis James in Germany?
I was.
Right,
So the
right.
Germany.
Right, but
still
I guess
has
the
some-
date changed that or something.
Yeah,
What happened?
they still got some really strong restrictions over there in Germany. So he ended up canceling the show this year. So there's a strong likelihood that Big Ramy and I will get a chance to do it next year.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, to Europe next Tuesday, and every country you have to fill out a lot of paperwork, and there's a lot of restrictions. So yeah, it's probably not the best time to go guest pose in Europe. But I didn't know his show is canceled. I didn't know, because in Switzerland we do have our we have our NPC show in 2 weeks in Switzerland.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You're going to that, right, JP?
I'm going to that. Yes,
Yeah.
this time last year, unfortunately, we couldn't hold it. It's COVID, and this year it's back on. It's not a pro qualifier yet. Hopefully next year it's just a regional, and the class winners, they win tickets and flights to pro qualifiers. So,
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
speaking of posing, Lenda, I don't know if I ever told you. I think I did. My very last guest posing was supposed to be on your show.
You know what? I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember because I had you were working with Joe Weider. You were a sponsored athlete, right?
Yeah.
And you were representing Weider. I do remember.
I was done with competitions, and I could hardly motivate myself anymore to really train after the knee surgeries.
Yes.
So then I scheduled that one more guest posing with you, and a week before tore my hamstring.
Yes,
So-
I remember. Yeah. Yep. So
Wow.
I'm very well aware. I remember that. We were all looking forward to having you on stage, and
It would have been my absolute last time on stage, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So,
yeah. Yep. I know that was in my Norfolk show, I think that had to be like, gosh, because I've been doing that show for 18 years. So that was, you were one of the first headliners.
2002, 3, 4, and that, yeah.
Yes, 2002, 3, 4, something like that. Yeah, I know you remember the date because you know when it happened as far as your knees. What year was that?
The accident happened, I think, in 2002, and this was about a year or so later, yeah.
Yes, I do. Yep, I remember.
Mhm.
All right.
So, Jason, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So you watched the Olympia, right?
Mhm.
Both days?
Mhm.
Okay. What was maybe your top 3 things that you would like to see more of from the Olympia this upcoming year? From pretty much, let's say, you can take any division isolated or just across the board.
I think you guys should be with the men's open for sure.
Ah,
I think that would be good. Geez, I don't know what else. That's hard. Put me on the spot. I usually ask all the questions. I'll have to think about that. Huh.
did you like the press conference, the way that was done?
I like that. Yeah. I still don't know if it was exciting seeing you guys come up with the curtain and stuff like that. I just don't know if they captured it like they were trying, because they did one with what's his name, the wrestler guy.
Yeah.
Batista.
Batista?
him and the other guys. But I don't know.
Okay, Ryan, Ian, you guys jump in.
I think what Jason said, I think you guys should be on the same day as the Open, for sure. I think the 212 should be on the same day as the Open as well. I would have the bikini and men's physique on a separate day.
Yeah, I think you all should be. It should be the 212, you guys, and then the men's Open.
I agree.
Yeah, or you ladies? Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm gonna call Dan. I'm gonna call Dan and tell him that.
I think for the new fans of the sport, I loved when they used to have like little intimate segments about each competitor. They would have like little spotlights before they would come out, and where they got to speak and show little insights behind the stage of their life. And I think that would bring a little bit more like closeness to the fans of the sport and the competitors. I mean, with social media nowadays, there's just everybody's just there in the open too, but I think that gives a little bit more of a personal touch to each competitor.
Yeah, good point. Good point. We do that at the Rising Phoenix.
We do.
For the women. Yeah.
And it's so much more of a, I think, a relatability point, because even after the show, I get a lot of people who, they may want to come up and take pictures, but they'll say, hey, I really connected with what you said, in this part of the video, or, I'm really inspired by what you said in this part of the video. Yeah, I mean, because the social media is one aspect, but yeah, getting to know a little bit more on a human level, right? It's like we're people. Yeah, we still compete, but we're people.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of different experiences. So yeah, good point.
I think that also gets different personalities across, because there's lots of different personalities that do this. And I think like when I was competing in the 90s, every athlete had, and it wasn't a persona, it was just who they were. There were very different personalities and different characters. And I think that's good for the sport. I think that's a very good thing for the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Hall of Fame inductees like the night before the show? You know how they do like WrestleMania does before WrestleMania, they induct the Hall of Famers before that. The Super Bowl, they induct Hall of Famers before that. What about the Olympia doing that?
Well, they did it this year. They usually do it at the Arnold. They do the Hall of Fame inductee. I think they inducted Jay Cutler this year.
Jay Cutler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
why doesn't the Olympia do it?
Saturday.
I don't. They do. They usually do it at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. Am I correct?
Yes.
So they have like a special segment, a Hall of Fame segment there.
Yeah. And they did, like you said, Jay Cutler was inducted at this Olympia, but it was separate. So I guess not all knew about it.
Right. I think it should be like a Friday night thing or something like that, like
Yeah.
the day before the big show.
Yeah, or attach it to the press conference, you know.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Before,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people are already either tuned in or already there present. And that would give them a chance to maybe give the persons being inducted a table, just like they give all of us athletes a table for like meet and greet, you know, to meet the Hall of Famers that have just been inducted. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it would be. Cool. Well, we got some great ideas. Let's see what we can do with them.
I like the press. A little bit, you know, when you have only 4, I don't know, you gotta be careful which 4 athletes you invite for that press conference. Because I
Very careful.
see some other people up there, and other than that, I like the format a lot. You know, maybe, you know, if Bob would take some Spanish lessons, it would help a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's you can tell they're trying new things, and this is good. You know, absolutely. And one thing I want to kind of ask you guys, I was a little bit, although I was only watching it on, you know, at home, I was a little bit confused sometimes a little bit with the background. Although I find it great for a finale, I still think for a pre-judging, just the black curtain would maybe just dropping a black curtain and just doing the comparisons. Although I understand the entertainment value, what they try to do, but the constant flashing and the lights.
So that was a distraction to have that.
It was for the pre-judging, you know.
That monitor, I see. So you're saying to go back to, because as a promoter, that was standard. You had to have a solid background.
Yeah. I mean, just for a moment, you know, they can do the first round, and then once the comparisons start, you know, when they put the guys up against each other, you know, in that round, just drop a curtain and just kind of let the sport do the talking and not the background.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
So it was distracting?
It was very distracting.
Very
Absolutely.
distracting. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely was.
People were distracted by it, but I'm not exactly sure when you were sitting there as a judge, if it was equally distracting or it was more distracting on the live podcast. So that I don't know, but that's maybe one thing. But
well, that's interesting. I'll make sure that I mean, because I do know that was the rule. Like as a promoter, you could not bring in anything flashy or distracting to the athlete's physique. And now, you know, with the monitors and all the other, especially when they move, because that's a television screen and it's showing all different types of, it's great for the sponsors, but again, like you said, if it were just exclusive to the prejudging, then maybe it would.
I don't even mind when they walk out and do like the short routine by themselves. I don't mind it there. Just when the comparisons start, and then after that you can pull it up immediately again. I think it would be better for the sport, but you know, just a little thing. Altogether, it was great. It's a great event.
Okay, I'll bring that up at the because I work in the office and they were talking about pay-per-view today, and I saw the director. So we always.
Do you know the numbers of pay-per-view? I was kind of curious about that.
I do not know the numbers, but they definitely, they're happy. They got a lot of, they're very happy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So need the prize money for Andrea to go up.
Yes. I know the prize money did go up, but I thought it would, I wasn't sure where it went up, but it didn't.
Well, we added the wellness division this year, so
I see.
Yeah.
Got a piece of the pie.
Okay.
Did you guys enjoy the wellness division?
It was okay.
I'm a big fan, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a good addition.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great addition too.
Yeah.
I do. You know, somebody made a good point about the wellness division that, you know, their butts and their glutes, I mean, they got muscular booties. So it's like when they turn to the rear, like I know when I first saw bikini and when they did that rear pose, at first it was like we were all startled. We were like, you know, but I think that's what's really great about this is that you can see phenomenal, you know, glutes and hamstrings, and then you can even see the way from the front when they turn and they pop, you could see the glute sticking out from the front view. I'm like, man, look at that glute.
Yes.
So yeah,
Wow.
wow.
Wow. I think it's great.
I
The
do
only thing
too.
is when the girls, let's say some of these girls, they're lower body dominant, right? It's the only division in which symmetry is not a requirement. If they build up those legs and the quads, the hamstrings, the glutes too much, they have nowhere else to go except women's bodybuilding.
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
being quad dominant, you know, that kind of cuts them right out of physique and figure. Because I struggled in figure and physique for that reason. My quads were just too dominant and I could never diet them down enough. I couldn't run them down, cardio them down. Like there was nothing for me to do except, and I mean, I was starving myself and I still only got down to 140 at my lightest. So still, yeah. I mean, but which I think could be, you know, if they'd be willing to add on a little mass for the upper body, it could be great.
Yeah, when you look at the top girls, you know, I follow wellness since 2017. My first wellness show I saw live at the 2017 Medellin Amateur Olympia from the other federation. I think the top girls, they're so with all their heart wellness girls. I don't think there's any consideration to ever switch a class. I mean, there's some girls here in the United States who went from bikini up, but I think that's just what they are and what they want to do and what their ideal picture of a body is. I don't think there's any interest in any of those girls from South America, especially. It looked a little bit like a Brazilian show, you know,
Yeah, pretty much.
to switch categories. Yeah, I do like that category.
Yeah.
Well, I think I know you guys all have a busy schedule, and I want to thank y'all for coming. Unless anybody's got anything else, I think we're good.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Andrea, thank you again for responding so quickly and coming on. Linda, thank you again for Dorian Yates.
You're welcome.
I can never thank you enough for that. That was an awesome interview. We had a great time.
That's cool. I know he's a great guy. I love Dorian.
Yeah, we had a good time. So I don't have anything else.
Keep us posted when that one releases. We'd like to watch.
It's out. It's already out.
Okay. Oh, cool.
I'll send it to you. It was good.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm still learning my bodybuilding history, so you know I'm still gleaning through those archives.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely have had on some good guys, some old school guys. So.
Yeah. And I just want to say too that I'm so proud of Andrea and how she represents the sport. Just an example of an athlete, just so balanced, not just in her physique, but in her, just the way she represents. And she's a really cool person. Like, fans walk up and she's always willing to take photos. She's available. I mean, across the board, you know, and that's, to me, people try to say that, I feel like you are a role model when you take on that position, and especially with women bodybuilding. We've had so many challenges throughout the years, and I know we all do our very best. I mean, I love all of our champions, and we are who we are, but girlfriend, thank you so much for just being so freaking complete.
Thank you. Thank you. And as much as, you know, I have had thoughts of, you know, I'm tired, but, you know, this is not I have to, this is a I get to. It really is. I mean, after losing my job last year, guys, I really didn't, you know, I told John, my coach, I said, you know, this has to work. This has to work. So you have to be fully committed. And being that the Miss Olympia was taken away, I feel as though I have the extra added duty to make sure that people respect our sport and that, you know, they don't, it's precious to us and we should handle it as such. And I tell the competitors that too. You know, I feel like whether you're a seasoned female bodybuilder or not, if you're competing, then you represent us. We all have to show up. And I think that I can show them better than I can tell them even though I still need to tell them, but I hold the responsibility of saying, you know what, this is going to be our culture. This is going to be what is expected of how we behave, how we act, how we engage with fans. Because again, if you want a place to be able to compete, because this was not an option for you to get on a Miss Olympia stage 3 years ago, handle it as though you cherish the opportunity. And that's what I want to convey. And none of us are above, we've seen it time and time again with certain athletes. They get injured and they're out. Something goes wrong and they're out. Take every day and cherish it for the opportunity that's before you. No, we're not better than anybody else. Some of them still kind of carry that air about themselves, but all I can do is just say my piece about it and just do me. But I can lead by example at least.
Well said. Well said.
Very well said.
All right. That's all I got.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Bye,
again, everybody.
Goodbye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right, good
Bye.
night.
Bye.